Okay, so this next challenge we're going to look for different trees, and we might not know all the trees, we might not know what they are, but there's a way of us having a look around and investigating and just seeing what we can find, looking at the bark, looking at the leaves, looking at how the tree is, and if we're not quite sure, then we'll take some evidence home with us, like a leaf, and see what we can find out when we get back. So as we stand in this spot, we've got lots of trees around us, and we're gonna have a look at each and just see what we can find, and see what we can recognise. So let's just have a look at this one first. So we can see here we've got a very distinctive leaf here, and if we were to take that home and have a look at it, you'd find it very, very easy to know what this tree is. It's a young oak. We've got also evidence here of something else that tells it's an oak tree, and that we've got an acorn on it. So very distinctive in its lobed leaves here, and yeah, very definitely an oak tree. We've seen this tree before because we've taken some of the needles off it, and this is a pine tree, definitely a pine tree, as we can see from the needles, and very much as you can see the bark here, how the bark comes out, and as we look closer at the tree, you can see very distinctly the different bark on it. So again, we've got a pine tree there. Okay, no need to really go too far with this one. It's very obvious that it's some kind of apple tree. There's a few apple trees in this woods, and I can't quite understand how they've got here, but yeah, very obvious with the apples on it. The leaves are fairly rounded, and the bark is fairly grey and smooth. So there's an apple tree. So here's another tree here, quite a young tree actually, not too big, and you can see from the leaves it's quite big leaves. They've got quite a texture to them actually, underside, slightly not hairy, but quite rough, and it's just that little tip at the end you can see with most of them. Got the tip at the end, and as you look at the tree, you'll see that the branches are quite straight and upright, and this time of year we've just missed out on seeing what this tree has on it to eat, and that's hazelnuts. It's a hazel tree, and very much worth looking out for kind of August, September, to look for those hazelnuts or cob nuts that come on these trees. And equally, because the tree is so straight, the tree branches are so straight, it makes for great walking sticks actually, and we'll look at that at another time. Okay, so this is another young tree here, not very big at all. These grow quite straight and upright. Generally when you see them older, the bark flakes off, and this is a fantastic tree to get the bark, the flaking bark off it, to start a fire, as this is a birch tree, and yeah, a very young one, but a different tree from others in here. And at certain times of the year you can tap the more mature trees to get birch sap from them. That is, you put something into the tree to draw the sap out, and that's really, really tasty. So here's an interesting tree that we've just found. and I have to say I'm not quite sure what this tree is, and that's okay. When you're not sure, then what you can do is take a leaf home and have a look at it. I would assume that this is part of the Acer family, which is the same as sycamore or maple, and I think it might be some kind of field maple. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a couple of leaves home and see whether we can identify it when we get back. Okay, here's another tree that we found, and this one is full of quite distinctive thorns. Need to be careful with this one. They grow quite thorny and close. They're quite difficult to get through. You'll see quite distinctly the leaves, little leaves and little lobes. You might see these trees either bare like this or with lots of red berries on. And this is a hawthorn. And definitely don't want to get caught with these too often. Okay, so here's another hawthorn bush tree with the berries on, these lovely red berries. You'll be able to see these all over the place. And again, it's very distinctive lobes in terms of the leaf. Okay, another tree here, very definitely these big leaves with 5 leaves coming off the main leaf. Very definitely a sycamore tree, and and a big sycamore tree at that, actually. Look at that. Okay, so a really distinctive tree, this one. And again, not unusual to see this with red berries on it, and particularly around Christmas time. So this is a big old holly tree, and you can see these spiky leaves, very distinctive. Okay, we've got another tree here. You can see very distinctive with these leaves opposite each other all the way through. You'll see these little black bits on the end of the branches. This is a small branch, but you'll see them, and almost right on the edge of the leaf there. The tree is usually quite grey in colour when you find these, and this is an ash tree. Okay, we've found another tree. This one again has rather distinctive leaf patterns, not as big as before, and you can see on the edges here they're quite saw-toothed in terms of the leaves themselves. It's quite a tall tree, very straight. This one not massively big, but enough. And generally, again, towards summer, you'll see orange berries in clusters on these trees. And this is a rowan tree, or a mountain ash tree. So you can see the similarity to the ash in the leaf patterns here, but slightly smaller and sawn at the edges. But it's a rowan tree or a mountain ash, and so you'll have orange berries on this through the summer. So there you go, that's another challenge. Find your top 10 tastic trees. You don't need to know them by sight or recognise them by sight, but try and find 10 different trees. Try and identify them if you can. Get yourself an identification guide if you can, or just take a picture of the leaves and the bark and do a little bit of research when you get back home. on the internet. Thanks again. Okay, so we've used an app actually to identify this leaf, and just taken a quick photo of it, and it's come back and told me that it is, as I thought, a field maple, Acer campestre being the scientific name. So that's great. That's 10 trees identified and found.